Welcome back. I'm Edward Musgrave Blakelock. Today we continue The Christian in Pagan Society. Episode 2. Tertullus calls Paul a disease. Pliny, in a document we shall later examine, speaks of the contagion of this superstition. An obscure reference in a rescript of Claudius, found in the Fayum some 80 years ago, and addressed in November 41 AD to the Jews of Alexandria, appears to use the same metaphor in the same connection. The Jews, runs the paragraph, are forbidden to bring or invite other Jews to come by sea from Syria. If they do not abstain from this conduct, I shall proceed against them for fomenting a malady common to the world. What is the significance of this metaphor, which might be further evidence that Claudius, and not Nero, was the first emperor to take official action against the Christians? See the Emperor Claudius Momigliano and his achievement. Further illustrated from Xenophon, Demosthenes, and Plato. Perhaps the last named provides the key. Any man, he writes, incapable of participating in mutual respect and law, must be put to death as a social plague. The expression suggests the social misfit, the awkward person, unable by temperament or unwilling by conviction to participate in the common activities of a group or community. Such is the shadow under which the Christians enter secular history, and the suspicion that Christians currently enter history under the cloud of what is falsely called free speech. Their name had been given in contempt at Antioch, and now the old metaphor for the outcast and the renegade was made theirs. It was an expression of mass psychology. An uncompromising conscience had withdrawn the followers of Christ from participation in many of the activities of a society which was much more communal and closely knit than that of the Anglo-Saxon world of today. The crowd had marked the abstinence, reacted as crowds react, and branded the abstainers with its disapproval. Crowds are feeble in reasoning and passionate in imagination. Hence, too often, persecution is the sad fate of minorities. Nero, like 100 of demagogues before and after him, seized on the ill-considered emotions of the mass. So, 5 years before, in an instructive story to which we shall return, had the silversmiths of Ephesus. There was fuel for Nero's firing in the dislike which the compliant and conforming majority feel for the dissident and non-conforming few. The spectacle of moral earnestness, such is human nature, offends the morally inert, and the sight of disciplined living rebukes and angers self-indulgence. The vested interests of vice fear virtue and corruption. It is uneasy in the presence of a sterner and challenging uprightness. So, in varied fashion, had the Christians stirred the emotional hostility of the ancient crowd. Nero canalized the crowd's passion, gave it self-expression, and supplied a cover of logic for baseness and a cloak of social righteousness for unreasoning hatred. Social ostracism, therefore, in the early history of the Church, preceded official persecution. The Christian was at odds with society before he fell out with the state. It is possible from the New Testament to shed some light on the cruel dilemma in which he was placed, and to unearth evidence of an inner conflict which all but shattered the Church. The study of the situation throws light on the principles of persecution, and directs attention to some laws of Christian sociology which are by way of finding new importance in the growing paganism of the day. As Professor Butterfield remarks in a significant passage, we are back for the first time in something like the earliest centuries of Christianity, and those centuries afford some relevant clues to the kind of attitude to adopt. Thanks for listening. See you next week.